I mean, what is up, guys? Teddy Cornwell here. Welcome to the Underdog Talk, the world's most underrated podcast. And I mean, there's something about the underdog, but you see him. I know the muscles are out under there. I mean, hailing from the District of Washington, D.C., I mean, today's guest was a standout at the University of Maryland. And I got to say, roll Terps. I mean, this gentleman was the 2005 NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year, three-time All-Pro Bowler. I mean, 2006 NFL sacks leader. I mean, I just gotta say, Shawne Lights Out Merriman. What is up, sir? How you doing? How you doing, the family, man?
Everything's good, man. Yeah, I'm on the West Coast now, so my day started a lot earlier, which I like.
Damn, West Coast, East Coast. Hey, same thing. Now, Shawne, before we even start this podcast, you ever say, the name Shawne? Call me Lights Out. You ever just walk around like, call me Lights Out. Don't call me Shawne. You ever do that?
No, I mean, if most people around me call me Lights, right? So it's that I would think probably my family, the ones I grew up with, are the ones that still call me Shawne. Everyone like high school and on, everybody around me for the most part called me Lights.
Ooh, that got me thinking. Someone calls me Teddy. No, call me the Underdog. Now, I mean, Shawne, you got the name. I mean, you knocked out four people in one game. And ladies and gentlemen, this was not college. This was not the NFL. This was high school. So you were a bad son of a bitch. Now, did you walk around school after that game like you were that guy? And then did this also help you, get looks from colleges?
Yeah. So what happened after that game when I knocked those the kids out? I got to school on Monday, and I got my book bag in my hand. I mean, my books in my hand, book bag on, and I'm walking around, and people were saying, "Go game lights for lights out." And so this was pre-social media, man. This was, this is all word of mouth, right? We got to school, and the word traveled from the game. That's when I went home and I begged my mom for 2 weeks to let me get a lights out switch on my right forearm. And so that's where the dance came from, man. But for me, it was just more of a mentality thing, right? Like, you live, having a nickname like Lights Out, you got to live up to that persona. You got to go out there and play, man. Like, you can't go out there half-assing if your name Lights Out. Your eyes, people are always looking at you like, I'm not, who the hell this dude think he is, right? So it was one of those situations.
And you got to show him the dance. Show him the dance.
Still, I mean, bring it home with the fighting question, because I mean, Shawne, you're a fighter at heart now.
Yeah, man. So I own and run Lights Out Extreme Fighting, MMA league. It's we're on Fubo TV, Fubo Sports. If you guys don't have Fubo, get it. We have a really, really big fight coming up May 6th in Los Angeles and Cali. At 4 p.m. It'll be live on Fubo TV. So if you guys don't have Fubo, you got to make sure you get this one.
Ooh, I mean, the link to that and the fight will be in this bio. Now, obviously, you grew up in the DC area. Was Maryland always your first choice to stay in the home state, Shawne?
Yeah, man. I you know what they offered me my sophomore year. And I ended up verbally committing my junior year. And so at that time, man, my sophomore year, when they were talking to me, I was 6 feet, 171 pounds, man, playing linebacker. They didn't know that I was going to gain 25 pounds the following year and gain, another inch or two in height. And so for me, man, I just wanted to stay home, right? I grew up in Prince George's County, Maryland. Like during that time, it was extremely rough, like where I grew up at. And so one of my family, my friends, my high school coaches, the area, because that's where I grew up. I wanted them to come and see me play. And I had offers, man, from just about everywhere, and that was it. Once I walked on campus and I seen everything, I was home.
And Phil, you're from.
Hey, look, so Shawne, the reason why he has me on here is you see my Cowboys gear, right? So one, you already know we wanted you. I know DeMarcus Ware is about to go in the Hall of Fame this year, but Cowboys fans, we wanted Shawne Merriman with that pick.
Yeah, it's crazy, man, because growing up in that DMV area, it was either two things. You were at the time a Redskins fan or you were a Cowboys fan. Like that was it. It was nobody else.
Yeah.
And so half my family's divided between Redskins fans and Cowboys fans. And so when I went to go meet with the Cowboys and I talked to Jerry Jones and Bill Parcells and everybody, including myself, that I was going to probably end up there if I got out of the first five to 10 picks. And so everybody had Cowboys hats and Cowboys custom made Merriman jerseys. Everybody's ready for me to go to the Cowboys. So they got a great one in DeMarcus, man. That's my boy. So I'll probably end up being there when he gets inducted and when he goes to the Hall of Fame.
And then part two, I'm also from PG County. I went to Crossland.
Oh, okay. All right. There you go.
Yeah. All right.
Wow. Crossland.
I knew I had to bring that up to you. So here's my question. So being that you're into the extreme fighting, Bellator, even with the bare knuckling, right? Give me a football player or athlete that you think would fit in good as an MMA fighter. So I'm thinking either Chandler Jones, maybe, because it's Bone Jones's brother, or maybe a big Hulk like Myles Garrett.
Yeah, Myles Garrett for sure, man. I mean, he's a freakish athlete. Okay. If you got a young Aaron Donald, right? I mean, if you get a young Aaron Donald, truthfully, what is he playing around 285 or something like that? He's playing around 285. He can drop 20, 25 pounds and fight at 265 and do some real damage, I think. Okay. Khalil Mack, if you got a Khalil Mack, Khalil is a freakish athlete. So you look for those type of guys that could just walk in right now. They're already explosive. They're athletic. Right. They also have the demeanor and mentality to get in the cage. That's another thing. Some of these guys are like big and strong, athletic, but mentality wise, they don't have it to compete in the cage. But some of the guys you just named for sure can get in there and do some real damage.
Okay.
I got money on Myles Garrett as being a superstar. We've had UFC former, Alexander. We've had some star Alexei Olenek, and I mean honestly, Myles Garrett versus him. I just have some ideas to send to you on some possible fights. Now, clearly you were a pretty big fella, as you won the Iron Terp Award at UMD. Now I've got to ask you, what were the big three? What were your deadlift, bench, and squat numbers like in college?
In college, I had a 490 bench. I had almost a 400-pound hang clean, and I think my squat was around like 625 or 650 or something like that, 675. I can't remember the numbers, but I was well over that 1,000-pound club. I can tell you that. So.
Golly, and obviously, some teams, a lot of teams like those numbers, and obviously the Chargers select you. We're here in Maryland as well, and I can't imagine flying across the country to kind of start your new career. But what were your thoughts on kind of re-traveling to California from Maryland and then being selected by the Chargers? What was that thought process like?
So we just talked about, I met with the Cowboys, and I knew that was a big possibility going there. I met with the Lions, Steve Mariucci over there. I was hoping not to go there. I went to the Commanders, were Redskins at the time. I met with them. And then when I went to San Diego for the first time, I've never been to the West Coast, first off. I've never been on the West Coast. And so we're flying over the water, the palm trees, the ocean. And I was like, this might be nice if, if I was to go here. And so I knew at that point when the Cowboys wasn't going to select me, I knew that I was going to the Chargers, because the Chargers had told me the same thing the Cowboys did. Hey, if you slip past out that 5 or 10, or the Cowboys don't get you, we're getting you. So I knew I was going to end up there. And it was the best thing to happen, man, because, when you're growing up the way I grew up and where I grew up, you're around everybody all the time. So to have that experience to come to the West Coast and establish, my name, establish, my brand, everything that I built on the West Coast in San Diego was amazing.
I mean, obviously the Chargers, an incredible franchise. We had the man himself, Hannick Birdman Milligan. I don't know if you played with him, Birdman, when your career was there.
That is my guy, Birdman.
Yeah, Birdman. Special teams, Pro Bowler. He was a nice little player. Now, he also talked about Schottenheimer. Phil, what were your thoughts on that?
So I wanted to know. So you played under Marty Schottenheimer,
Mm-hmm.
aka Marty Ball. You played under Wade Phillips, aka Uncle Wade for us Cowboys fans.
Yep.
You also played with Hall of Famers or future Hall of Famers in LaDainian Tomlinson, Phillip Rivers. Speaking of Phillip Rivers, did you play with Phillip Rivers and Drew Brees?
Yep. My first
Both.
my first year, Philip was
Okay.
back and Drew up.
Okay, both of them. Then you also had Antonio Gates and Lorenzo Neal, who better make it to the Hall of Fame.
That So I mean, just to kind of jump there, there's no doubt about it. The Lorenzo Neal deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Now, I've been around this dude for years, man, and he took me under his wing early on.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got there, I believe he was in his 11th or 12th year. I mean, he was over 10 years. And when I tell you, it was hard for me to keep up with some of these workouts because he was still getting after it. If you look at how many 1,000-yard rushers and Hall of Famers that he blocked for,
Yeah.
that should tell you exactly what he meant at that position. And also, he's the last of a dying breed of a position. That type of fullback position just doesn't exist anymore. And so, with that being said, man, you have to almost, in a sense, really consider Neal because he not only was he a special player, man, but if you talk to anybody that played with him, Neal was different. One of the best guys you can be around. So I'm hoping that the Hall of Fame, they understand and look at it at that angle because us players, not just because I played with them, talk to anybody that played against them. They're gonna say the same thing I'm saying right now.
Yeah, yeah. So being that you played with all of those guys, and at Maryland, did you play with Vernon Davis?
Played with Vernon, yep. Vernon Davis, DeQuell Jackson, E.J. Henderson. You name it, man.
Some more PG County boys.
That's it. I played with some guys, man, and I was fortunate, seriously, from college on to play with some of the best players. And how many I played with? Probably potentially six or seven Hall of Famers throughout my career.
Yeah, yeah. Now, out of all of those guys, give us a few things that you've learned from all of those guys that you applied to on the field and maybe even off the field.
Well, for one, walking into the locker room, having somebody like Lorenzo Neal take you under their wing. I worked out with him. We competed every single day. LT, man, let me tell you, LaDainian, he's just to see somebody at that level. Right, you walking in and I'm 20 years old. I just turned 21 when I got there, and you're looking at LaDainian Tomlinson still catching the ball out the backfield and running down the field 30 yards, right, to the touchdown in practice. One hand off of catch out the backfield and jump cut and do just seeing all these things. You just say like, okay, cool. These guys are on this level already, and they're still working. Antonio, all these guys. We didn't have. Like that superstar caliber player that was like lazy, right? Or didn't show up, didn't put an effort. Like everybody there, the Hall of Fame, they worked just as hard, if not harder than everybody else. And so that rubbed off on me in that way where I could not get big headed because how are you going to get big headed? LT is, running the ball 30 yards into the end zone. He's working out early and, off season training, all these guys, Drew Brees. I mean, Drew was one of the most focused and intense people I've ever been around. He's just so dedicated. And so seeing that early on, it did something for me. And I was, I'm really appreciative of that.
And I mean, not to toot your own horn, but we're going to do it for you. I mean, you had some nice accolades yourself, and I just got to read it one more time because they are impressive. NFL sack leader, 3-time Pro Bowler with a 2-time first team All-Pro. Just got to throw that out there. Am I forgetting one? Oh, yeah, NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year. I mean, which one of those was the most meaningful and significant to you out of those accomplishments?
That's tough. The Defensive Rookie of the Year it meant a lot, right? Because all these guys, I mean, DeMarcus came in. We had a hell of a Pac-Man Jones. We all came in the same year, right? A lot of us. So that was big. But I think going to being a first team All Pro as a rookie, right? And that to me was like a big deal because now you're talking about the elite of the elite. And so to be up there at 21 years old, man, and be looked at by your peers and other people in the league, was, it was a big deal for me. And to do it 3 times, to be an all-pro 3 times, man, it's just, I was fortunate. I was really, really fortunate with that.
Obviously, you balled out, learned so much in the NFL as a leader. Now, kind of after seeing it from the high school to college to the pro level of being at such a high level, what is your biggest tip for someone who was in the same boat at high school who's looking to make it to the NFL like you, sir?
Well, first of all, you got to own the day, right? Like everybody have plans of going into the NFL and do that, but there's so many steps in order to get there. So you can't take your eye off the ball because you're looking too far down the road. Even some of these guys that are expected or projected to go, get drafted in the first round or 2 and everyone knows it. Like you can't look that far. Like you have to dominate where you are right now. And just take your time with it. It's going to come. Right. And, to play in NFL, it's a privilege. It's one of those things that you dream about it growing up and then you get there and you're like, holy hell, like we just talked about, dude, you're not walking into a locker room with LT and Antonio Gates and Phillip Rivers and Drew, like, walking into seeing that for the first time. And not only did you watch them on TV, but now these are your teammates. These are your guys. So just appreciate that process going through it. That's the biggest thing. Don't look too far here. Appreciate the process. Dominate that position of wherever you are right now, but everything else will come.
And you got to trust the process. You got to love the process. Now, winding it down, you're the man behind one of the fastest growing fight, organizations out there. How did the idea to start that come to be, Shawne?
Well, I was during the off seasons, I was training with a lot of the MMA guys, and I wanted to pick it up to get better with my hand-eye coordination. Just to get more acclimated because I wasn't using my hands as much and opening my hips against those big offensive tackles, using my leverage. MMA helped out a lot with that. In 2006, I came out and led the NFL in sacks. And so, kind of fast forward through everything. I launched Lights Out Extreme Fighting in 2018. As I just said before, we're on Fubo TV, Fubo Sports. But it's funny being on this side of it because, when you're talent or you're a player, right, you get there on Sundays, the game, Sunday Night Football, the camera's already there and set up and, you got all this stuff. You just walk in, grab your helmet, shoulder pads, go out there and kick some ass, right? With this, you are the one that's putting everything together, right? And then, you got ticket sales and live TV. The fighters and this next fight we have coming up, we got a former football player to play at Fullerton, Julian Duckenfield, who I think is going to be a star. And I'm waiting for a couple XFL guys to finish up the season and move on because they're going to come over and sign contracts as well to fight. So this process for me has been fun, man. Like, building Lights Out, being called Lights Out since I was 16 years old. To now having an MMA league that's live and international. We our last fight was shown in Canada and France and some parts of Spain. So it's fun growing this brand, but and for me, I just really enjoy that process. Like I get up for the process every day because I love that part of it.
And excuse my French, but fuck you, Dana White. Shawne Merriman is the new man. I don't know if that's gonna go viral, but first person to follow Lights Out, I'll be sending you a Shawne Merriman autographed card. I mean, this is something that we can buy a subscription to, right, Shawne?
Yeah, absolutely. And then Fubo, anybody can get Fubo as well. So if you don't have Fubo, get it. Our last fight we had in January crossed over into the top 10 most watched all time on Fubo Sports. And so that was big for us because they got a bunch of great programming on there. Obviously, they're huge in soccer. Too. So for us to be, kind of up there in that category with international soccer, man, it's next level.
And now, before we give you the floor, I want to know what you think about the 2023 Chargers. What are your thoughts on Austin Eckler and Herbert going into the season?
Well, for one, there's a lot of talk about Austin Eckler and the contract and everything else, man. But I just think that was just blown out of proportion. That's like anybody that's going to ask for a raise when you've done well. If you work a 9 to 5 and you've been somewhere for long enough, you've been performing, you go ask for a raise. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, the Chargers got a big situation happening. And that's Justin Herbert. His contract is going to be a massive one. You see a lot of restructuring going on, and so on. So hopefully they can figure that out. And because Austin Eckler is a huge part of that offense and that team. I think that when they going out getting your guys, Kellen Moore, I think that was
okay. That's what I was just about to say.
In my opinion, I think that was the biggest offseason move, period.
Mm-hmm.
Bigger than Ben-Ami going to the Commanders. It was bigger than anyone else being moved around because you got to look at the pieces that the Chargers have already. Mm-hmm. They have an explosive offense, right? That was driving like a 1987 Honda, right? Like it was driving around like that. Now, they got the new Ferrari, the new Spider out there, right? Because Kellen Moore, man, he's gonna get that offense going. They're not going to be as conservative. They're going to open it wide up, keep the defenses guessing, and then also be able to use Justin Herbert's capabilities, right? He has the biggest, in my opinion, he has the biggest arm and in football. And so he can do things that other guys can't. And so I don't think that he was allowed to kind of do as much as that. And with Kellen Moore is going to come in and change that.
And Kellen Moore's a stud. Now, Phil, real quick, tell Shawne your theory about the rookie quarterback deal.
Don't get it started on here. So I have a theory that every team should draft a quarterback every 5 years, right? And do it in your current quarterback's final year so that you always have your quarterback on a rookie deal. So, for instance, this year, the Eagles, right? They have the number 10 pick and number 30 pick. Take one of them and draft Richardson, maybe, from Florida. Let him sit for a year behind their current quarterback, right? And then throw him in. You have him on his rookie deal for the next 4 years. That way you can continue to draft or to get everybody else's free agents and keep your own. What do you think about that?
Look, economically, that's great. We talk about the money situation. That's awesome. That's a great idea. That's probably one of the best I've ever heard when it comes to money. Okay. The problem in that situation is you don't know what you're getting next, right? So you might be stuck with somebody that's not performing like the guy before for 5 years. Mm-hmm. And so that's the situation you run up into. And it's a reason why these quarterbacks are getting massive contracts. And some of them are way bigger than everyone else, right? Because there's just not a lot out there. Do you think there's Josh Allen just walking around or Patrick Mahomes walking around or Justin Herbert, Jalen Hurts, these guys don't just walk around. You got like maybe 7, right, in the entire NFL that's just next level and better than everyone else. And so when you look at it from that standpoint, economically, great, right? You never go too much. You're not going to break the cap or anything like that. Mm-hmm. But now you got to look at what you're dealing with for the next 5 years, and are you taking a step back? So that's my only, will be my only concern with that.
I'm gonna get you for that, Teddy, because all I want my quarterback is to just be a bus driver. So that's why I said that. But I'm gonna get you for that.
All right, I see. All right. Well, I just wanted to see what an NFL superstar would think about your
it's great idea. To hear. It's great to hear somebody at his stature give me some feedback on it.
And now, Shawne, the floor is yours, sir. Where can we find your social media? Where can we find Lights Out social media, if that's a thing? The floor is yours, big fella.
Yeah, you can follow me at Shawne Merriman on Instagram and Twitter, and then follow the company Lights Out XF on Instagram and Twitter as well. Check us out at lightsoutxf.com. So anybody in that LA area, May 6th, we got a big fight in Los Angeles and Burbank. And if you can't make it there, get football, man. This is going to be our biggest card yet.
And you know what? We'll do one better. First person to buy a ticket to that fight, send me a screenshot. We'll be sending you a signed DJ Ukulele, Clemson jersey. I mean, what's better than watching a fight live besides playing football, watching football live? Not much on earth, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, please go check out all those. Check out Shawne's content because, there's some inspiring stuff as well on there. And if you want to see some motherfuckers get knocked out as well, go check that out. Let's just say it how it is. One more time, Shawne, Lights Out Merriman, Shawne, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for taking your time. Oh, yeah, Phil, do that dance for him. Yeah, I saw that. Hey, guys, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, Underdog and Lights Out.